The screen door slammed like a gunshot in the sticky Alabama night, and Joshua's world shattered as his father's voice thundered, "Get the hell out of my house, you freak!" A trash bag hit the gravel driveway with a pathetic thud, stuffed with his entire life, faded jeans, a couple of comic books, and the Polaroid of him and his little sister grinning toothless at Disney World. 14. Barefoot and trembling under the porch light, Joshua clutched that bag like a shield, tears carving rivers down his dust-streaked cheeks, knowing one stolen glance at the neighbor boy had cost him everything. He stumbled into the dark, the cicadas screaming their indifference, while inside, his mother's sobs mixed with his father's Bible-thumping rage. "The Lord don't abide sinners like you," the old man had spat, veins bulging in his neck like twisted roots. Joshua didn't run far, just to the edge of the trailer park, collapsing against a rusted chain-link fence, the bag spilling open like his guts. In that moment, as headlights from passing semis sliced the humid air, he whispered to the stars, "I'll make you pay. All of you." The bus station in Mobile smelled like stale coffee and regret, a gray dawn haze filtering through the grimy windows as Joshua slumped on a bench, his trash bag a sad sentinel at his feet. He'd hitched a ride with a trucker who kept eyeing him funny, dropping him off with a gruff, "Kid, stay safe out there," and a crumpled 20 that bought this ticket north. New York, the city of dreams, or so the billboards promised. 14. Dreams were all he had left, brittle as the candy wrapper he twisted in his fist. The Greyhound lurched out of the lot, Alabama's piney woods blurring into a green smear, and Joshua pressed his forehead against the cool glass, replaying the nightmare on loop. His dad, Harlan, a mill worker with calloused hands that once tossed him in the air like a football, now wielding those same fists like weapons. "I saw you kissin' that boy behind the shed," he'd roared, face purple with whiskey and wrath. Mama had just stood there, apron twisted in her fingers, whispering, "Baby, pray harder." And Ellie, his 8-year-old sister, peeking from her room with wide eyes, too scared to cry out. The family that prayed together stayed together, except when it came to faggots like him. Hours bled into a monotonous hum of tires on asphalt. Joshua dozed fitfully, waking to snatch his bag when a burly guy in the next seat snored too close. By evening, the skyline loomed like jagged teeth. Manhattan, indifferent and electric. He stepped off at Port Authority, the chaos swallowing him whole, honking taxis, vendors hawking hot dogs, crowds shoving like they owned the sidewalks. No one noticed the scrawny kid with the trash bag, eyes hollow as the subway rats he'd soon call neighbors. Shelter beds were full, so he wandered into the underbelly of Hell's Kitchen, where steam rose from grates like ghosts. A soup kitchen run by a no-nonsense nun named Sister Agnes took pity, slipping him a bowl of watery stew and a cot in the basement. "God's got a plan for you, child," she said, her Irish lilt cutting through the din. Joshua nodded, but inside, God's plan felt like a cruel joke. Nights blurred into survival, panhandling on Times Square, dodging cops in the alleys, trading comic book lore for cigarettes with other street kids. There was Marco, a Puerto Rican runaway with a switchblade smile, who taught him to hotwire a bike for quick getaways. And Lena, a trans girl hustling for rent, who shared her lipstick and stories of San Francisco dreams. But the hunger gnawed deepest, not for food, but for touch, for the softness he'd glimpsed in that forbidden kiss back home. In the shelter's dim rec room, Joshua watched the others pair off in shadows, whispers turning to moans that twisted envy in his gut. One night, after a brutal hailstorm chased everyone inside, he cornered Marco in the stairwell. "What if I like boys?" he blurted, voice cracking like thin ice. Marco laughed, low and warm, pulling him close. Their first kiss tasted like rain and rebellion, fumbling hands mapping uncharted skin against cold concrete. It was messy, urgent, a spark in the void, but dawn brought Marco gone, his spot empty, leaving Joshua with a hickey like a brand and a heart already learning to scar. School was a pipe dream until Sister Agnes pulled strings for a GED program at a community center in Chelsea. Joshua walked those fluorescent halls like a ghost, acing math tests but bombing group projects, trust as foreign as the accents around him. That's where he met Daniel, 17 and all sharp edges wrapped in faded band tees. Nirvana. Mostly. Daniel was a foster kid, bounced from home to home, with eyes like smoked quartz and a laugh that cut through the boredom like sunlight. "You're the quiet one who stares at the ceiling during lectures," Daniel said on day one, sliding into the seat beside him with a bag of pilfered chips. "What's up there? Aliens plotting world domination?" Joshua flushed, shoving his notebook aside. "Just thinking about getting out." "For real?" Daniel nodded, like he got it, and just like that, they were inseparable. Study sessions turned to late-night diner runs at the TikTok Grill, where Daniel stole fries and spun tales of his latest escape from a Bible-thumping psycho family in Ohio. "They found my diary," he confessed over greasy eggs one pre-dawn. "Called me an abomination. Locked me in the basement till I signed papers saying I'd pray the gay away." Joshua's fork clattered. It was his story, mirrored in this boy's crooked grin. Their worlds collided in stolen moments, hands brushing under cafeteria tables, knees knocking during movie marathons at Daniel's current foster flop in the village. Daniel's foster mom, Mrs. Rivera, a chain-smoking Latina with a soft spot for strays, pretended not to notice the extra blanket on the couch. "Ay, muchachos, just keep it PG," she'd wink, sliding them empanadas. For the first time, Joshua felt anchored, not in blood, but in the way Daniel's fingers traced constellations on his palm, whispering, "You're my North Star, Josh. Don't fade on me, but anchors drag." Harlan's letters started arriving at the shelter, forwarded by Sister Agnes with a pitying frown. "Your father's sorry," the first read, scrawled in blocky print. "Come home. Family's family." Joshua burned them in the alley incinerator, flames licking the words like his rage. Ellie sent drawings, stick figure families under rainbows, but they twisted the knife deeper. "Miss you, Bubba," one crayon-scrawled note said. He taped it inside his new duffel, the trash bag long retired to a dumpster. By 16, Joshua had clawed his way to a part-time gig at a bodega, stocking shelves for minimum wage and enough to cover a shared room in a walk-up on 9th Avenue. Daniel crashed there most nights, their twin mattress a battlefield of limbs and laughter. Sex came slow, tentative, a fumbling exploration in the dark, Daniel's breath hitching as Joshua mapped the freckles across his chest like a treasure hunt. "I love you," Daniel murmured after, voice muffled in the pillow. Joshua's throat tightened. Love was a luxury he'd never afforded. "Yeah," he whispered back. "Me too," yet shadows loomed. Daniel's foster clock ticked toward 18, and Mrs. Rivera warned of the street's cruelty. "You boys stick together." Joshua nodded, But plans formed in secret: community college for him, art school for Daniel's sketches. They'd pool bodega tips and wait tables, build a life in this concrete jungle. Felt possible, almost, until the call came. Harlan, drunk dialing from a payphone in Mobile. Your sister's sick. Boy. Leukemia. Needs her brother. The line crackled like Joshua's resolve. Ellie, with her gap-toothed grin, wasting away in some hospital bed. He hung up, fists clenched, but the pull was magnetic. Daniel found him on the fire escape, chain-smoking menthols. Go, Daniel said simply, wrapping arms around him from behind. Family's not blood, it's who shows up. But if you need me, I'm there. Joshua left with a Greyhound ticket and a promise. 2 weeks, tops. The South hit like a fever dream, humid air thick as guilt, cicadas still droning their dirge. Home was a ghost town, trailer sagging, Mama's eyes sunken, Harlan's hands trembling without the bottle's crutch. Ellie lit up like a firefly when he walked in, for lines tangling her bird-like arms. Baba, you came. She hugged him fierce, chemo scent clinging like accusation. Rehab had softened Harlan, or so he claimed, AA meetings and a mill layoff forcing sobriety's mirror. I was wrong. Son, he grunted over lukewarm coffee. Eyes averted. The devil had me good. Joshua nodded, throat barbed, tending Ellie through radiation fog and midnight fevers. Mama prayed rosaries at his bedside, whispering apologies in the dark. We failed you, baby. But God's forgiving. 2 weeks stretched to 6, then 8. Daniel's calls grew sparse, static-laced pleas from payphones. Miss you, North Star. When you coming back? Joshua promised soon, but Ellie's relapse chained him. Harlan's just 1 more week, a mantra of manipulation. Letters piled up, Daniel's sketches, increasingly frantic. Foster's up. On the street. Need you. Guilt was a slow poison. One night, Ellie asleep, Joshua overheard Harlan on the phone. Yeah, the boy's back. Softened him up good. Laughter, coarse and familiar. The devil hadn't left. It had just changed uniforms. Rage boiled, but Ellie stirred, murmuring, Don't go. Baba. He stayed, stitching wounds with bedside stories, his New York dreams fraying like old denim. When Ellie stabilized, miracle or morphine, who knew? Joshua fled southbound, Harlan's proud of you, sun ringing hollow. The bus dropped him in a Manhattan autumn crisp as regret, leaves skittering like accusations. Their walk-up echoed empty. The bodega boss shrugged. Kids split a month back. Said something about California. Daniel was gone. Joshua sank to the floor amid takeout boxes, the duffel spilling sketches, half-finished portraits of them tangled in sheets. Labeled, forever. A note, crumpled. Waited as long as I could. Love you always. Find me in the stars. Betrayal? No, survival. But it carved deeper than any knife, leaving Joshua adrift in a city that chewed up boys like them. He clawed forward, GED diploma, night classes at NYU's extension program, slinging coffee at a Greenwich Village cafe where drag queens tipped in glitter. Nights blurred into hookups, faceless bodies in backrooms, chasing Daniel's ghost in every gasp. But the hunger lingered, a hollow ache. Revenge simmered low. Harlan's letters now went unanswered. Ellie's drawings returned unopened. Let them rot in their own hell, he'd mutter to the mirror, jaw set like flint. 2 years ground by Joshua 20 now, lean and tattooed, a barbed wire heart inked on his ribs for the family that cut him loose. He waitressed at a high-end spot in Soho, charming tips from Wall Street wolves who saw a pretty face and tipped extra for the blush. That's where the path crossed Harlan's shadow again. Not in flesh, but in newsprint. A clipping from Mama, slipped under his door by some pitying postman. Mill closing, Harlan Jenkins laid off. Family faces eviction. Karma's whisper. But Ellie, her face in the grainy photo, thinner but smiling, twisted the blade. He wrote her once, brief, holding steady. You fight hard, no mention of the rest. Life hardened him. Promotions to barback, a studio sublet in Brooklyn, friends like Theo, a queer activist with a megaphone and a crush Joshua politely dodged. Then, Daniel. A rainy Tuesday, steam fogging the cafe windows, and there he was, Q at the counter, older, broader, with a fade haircut and a leather jacket slung over one shoulder. Joshua's tray clattered, saucer shattering like glass hearts. Josh, Daniel's voice, roughened by time, cracked the air. Eyes locked, smoked quartz meeting storm clouds. They spilled into the alley after closing, rain sheeting down, words tumbling like floodwater. CalArts, Daniel gasped, hands framing Joshua's face. Scholarship. But I wrote, called. Joshua shoved him back, rain mixing with hot tears. You left. I came back to nothing. Daniel winced, pulling a faded Polaroid from his wallet, them on that fire escape. Mid-laugh. I waited. Months. Your calls stopped. Thought you stayed. With them. The truth clawed out. Harlan's sabotage. The isolation. Ellie's anchor. Daniel's arms crushed around him. Sobs muffled in wet wool. Forgive me, hiss. Desperate and salt-stung. Reignited embers long banked. They tumbled back to Joshua's studio. Clothes shedding like old skins. Bodies reclaiming lost time in a frenzy of need. Daniel's sketches now adorned gallery walls in L.A. But he'd come back. For a show. For closure. For you, he breathed, tracing the tattoo. Always. Dawn crept through the blinds like a hesitant lover, painting Daniel's sleeping form in gold stripes, chest rising steady, lashes fanned dark against freckled cheeks. Joshua watched from the edge of the bed, coffee steaming untouched on the nightstand, the night's confessions hanging heavy as the sheets tangled at their waists. Forgiveness wasn't a switch. It was a suture, pulling tight over raw edges. What now? He'd whispered at 3 a.m., fingers tracing the new ink on Daniel's forearm. A compass rose, pointing home. Daniel stirred, eyes fluttering open with that boyish squint. Breakfast burritos from the truck on 4th? My treat. It was that simple, that American, greasy salvation wrapped in foil, eaten cross-legged on the fire escape while pigeons cooed judgment. They talked circuits, Daniel's L.A. life, crashing on couches with aspiring filmmakers, his graphic novel gaining buzz in indie circles. It's us, he said, flipping to a page, two outcasts silhouetted against a city blaze, hands entwined. Joshua's throat tightened. His own scribbles filled journals, poems too jagged for sharing. But the past was a boomerang. A week in, Daniel's phone buzzed with a California area code. X-Fling. Voice syrupy on speaker. Miss you, babe. That loft's empty without your sketches. Joshua feigned sleep, But the seed sprouted doubt, thorny and familiar. He buried it in work. Double shifts at the cafe where tips flowed like the East River. Funding a savings jar labeled Escape Fund. Daniel crashed at the studio, their rhythm syncing like old times. Morning runs along the Brooklyn Bridge. Evenings lost in Criterion flicks and takeout Thai. Yet cracks spiderwebbed. Daniel's wanderlust itched. Offers from galleries in Portland, Berlin. Just a month, he'd say, sketching Joshua's profile by lamplight. Fuel for the fire. Joshua nodded, but nights alone echoed with ghosts, Harlan's voice, the trash bag's thud. He started volunteering at the Ali Forney Center, mentoring kids like his 14-year-old self, wide-eyed runaways with backpacks stuffed with fears. "You're stronger than they know," he'd tell them, echoing Sister Agnes, watching their shoulders straighten. One kid, Tyler, 14 and fresh from Texas with a bruised jaw and a stutter, latched on. "My dad said I'm going to hell," he mumbled over checkers. Joshua's jaw clenched. "Hell's what they made at home. This is heaven's rough draft." Tyler's grin cracked the ice, and Joshua saw Ellie in his gap-toothed hope. Fragile, fierce. He sponsored the boys' art supplies, Daniel donating sketch pads with a wink. Paying it forward. North Star. Revenge brewed subtle. A slow simmer. Harlan's letters escalated. Begging now. Postmarked from a mobile motel. "Lost the trailer. Ellie's asking for you." Joshua drafted replies. Venom-laced litanies of pain, but burned them instead. Better to starve them silent. Then, a call? Mama's voice, frail as tissue. "Harlan's bad. Josh. Liver. Docs say months." He hung up, slamming the receiver till his palm bled. Daniel found him curled on the bathroom floor, rocking. "Let it go," Daniel murmured, drawing him into the tub, water scalding away the salt. But letting go was a lie. Daniel's show opened at a Soho gallery, raw, electric, lines snaking down the block. Joshua stood in the crowd, pride swelling like a bruise, toasting with cheap champagne as collectors fawned. "Your muse?" one silver-haired suit asked, eyeing Joshua. Daniel laughed, pulling him close. "My everything." That night, high on success and Cabernet, they made love on the gallery's rooftop. City sprawl their witness. Stars indifferent. "Marry me," Daniel joked, slipping a bottle cap on Joshua's finger. Joshua's laugh broke wet. In a heartbeat, weeks blurred into a fragile idyll. Joint applications to Pratt for Joshua's writing MFA. Daniel's agent buzzing about book deals. They adopted a mangy tabby from the shelter, named her Bagheera for the trash bag survivor in Joshua. But betrayal's scent lingered. Daniel's phone lit up late. Texts from LA Ghost, flirty emojis trailing like breadcrumbs. Joshua confronted him over cold pizza. "Who's she?" Daniel paled, fumbling. "Old friend." "Nothing." Lies hung, acrid as burnt crust. The fracture widened. Harlan died in a mobile hospice, obituary clipped and mailed by a cousin Joshua barely recalled. "Peace at last," it lied. Joshua flew south alone. Daniel's go heal a weak echo. The funeral was a farce, trailer park mourners in ill-fitting suits. Mama's eyes red-rimmed under her perm. Ellie, 12 now and cancer-scarred but standing tall, clung to him in the receiving line. He said he was sorry. Bubba. At the end, Joshua's nod was wooden. Sorry didn't mend bones. Back in Brooklyn, Daniel waited with takeout and open arms. But the air crackled. "You smell like smoke and regret," Daniel teased, nuzzling his neck. Joshua pulled away. "And you smell like secrets." The fight erupted, words like shrapnel. Joshua's abandonment fears, Daniel's cagey freedom. "I need space to breathe," Daniel shouted, storming out. Hours later, a voicemail, "I'm sorry. Portland gig. 2 weeks. Love you." 2 weeks became 4. Texts dwindling to emojis. Joshua paced the studio, Bagheera twining ankles like accusation. Tyler called from the center. "Miss our checkers." "Man." Joshua volunteered double, pouring lost love into lost boys. One night, scrolling Daniel's Insta, public now. For the art crowd, he froze. A Portland cafe shot, Daniel's arm around a lanky artist type. Caption, "New Horizons." Heart splintered. Joshua smashed his phone, shards glittering like tears. Revenge shifted targets. Not Harlan's grave, but this fresh wound. He packed Daniel's sketches into a box, mailing it to the gallery with a note. "Return to sender." Muse revoked. Then, silence. Days bled into numbness. Shifts blending. Journals filling with vitriol poetry. Ellie wrote, "Miss you. Mama's drinking again." He booked a ticket south. Not for healing, but reckoning. Mobile welcomed him with muggy arms. The old trailer park a skeleton of rust. Mama answered the door hollow-eyed, bottle in hand. "Josh? Lord, you've grown." Ellie barreled into him, all gangly limbs and braces. Over fried okra and tense silences. Truth spilled. Harlan's deathbed ravings. Mama's own guilt-fueled spiral. "I should have fought harder," she wept. Joshua's hand covered hers. First touch in years. "You did what you could. Now we do better." He stayed a month, turning the spare room into a studio. Walls papered in Ellie's drawings. Shelves for his books. Mama joined AA. Shaky but trying. Joshua mediated, his New York armor cracking under southern sun. Calls to the center kept him tethered. Tyler's first exhibit. A triumph of spray paint rebellion. "Owe it to you, Josh." Daniel's emails trickled. "Brooklyn's empty without you. Come back." Joshua deleted them, but the pull tugged. Portland had been a mistake. A drunken night, regrets hangover. "I panicked," Daniel confessed in the last. "Scared of forever." Joshua's reply, "Forever's what we make. But trust, that's earned." Back north, the city hummed colder. The cafe promoted him to manager, a corner office with a view of nothing. He reconnected with Theo, dives into protests, Stonewall remembrances, marriage equality marches. Daniel showed up unannounced at a rally. Sign in hand, "Love wins? For us?" Joshua's laugh cracked the ice, but words waited. They rebuilt slow, coffee dates, no overnights. Daniel's book deal landed, tour dates looming. "Join me in LA?" Joshua hesitated, Ellie's voice in his ear. "Fight for your happy, Bubba." He nodded. One stop at a time, but fate's a cruel editor. En route to the first signing, Chicago. Wind-whipped and wondrous. A call from Mobile. Mama's overdose. Pills and vodka. Joshua's plane diverted south. Daniel rerouting to meet him. The hospital reeked of antiseptic lies. Ellie catatonic in the waiting room. "She said you hated us," she whispered. Joshua crushed her close. Never you, kiddo. Never. Mama pulled through. Detox a harsh baptism. Daniel stayed, sketching her frail form with gentle lines. Family's messy, he said later, over vending machine coffee. But worth the ink. Joshua nodded, the compass tattoo itching a reminder. Winter clamped Brooklyn in iron jaws, snow muffling the streets like a shroud. But inside Joshua's studio, warmth flickered tentative, Daniel's laugh echoing off exposed brick as he stirred cocoa on the hot plate. Mama's crisis had forged them tighter, her discharge papers a talisman on the fridge. One day at a time, Ellie FaceTimed daily, braces flashing in pixelated grins. Her latest sketch, a superhero Joshua battling storm clouds, taped above the bed. For my hero, she'd beamed. Daniel's tour kicked off in a whirlwind. Boston's indie bookstores, Philly's queer lit fests. Each city a postcard he mailed back, doodles on the margins. Wish you were here. North Star. Joshua held the fort, managing the cafe through blizzards, mentoring Tyler's crew at the center. The kids' exhibit had blown up, local paper calling it street art's new voice, and Joshua swelled quiet pride, slipping him a check from tips. Build on it, he said. Tyler hugged awkward. You first, man. Doubt's embers smoldered, though. Daniel's posts glowed, crowds adoring, collaborators lingering too close in shots. A Philly after-party pic. Daniel's arms slung casual around that lanky artist from Portland, grins too wide. Joshua's thumb hovered delete, but kept scrolling, venom curdling. Trust was a muscle, atrophied from disuse. Spring thawed the thaw, cherry blossoms dusting the promenade like confetti, Joshua's MFA acceptance letter arriving crisp in the mail. Pratt, full ride, poetry program, his jagged verses finally finding a forge. Daniel celebrated with rooftop pizza, string lights twinkling like promises. To us, he toasted, clinking bottles. Joshua leaned in, tasting hops and hope. To not running, but runs circled back. Harlan's estate settled, a pittance from the mill pension, willed to Ellie but tangled in probate. Mama called, voice steadier. Lawyer says it's yours too, Josh. For what he took, Joshua laughed bitter. Keep it. By Ellie braces that don't pinch. Deeper, though, the urge stirred. Revenge, not petty, but poetic. He hired a PI on the cheap, cafe buddy's cousin. Ex-cop with a grudge against deadbeats. Digging into Harlan's old crew, the mill cronies who'd cheered his disownment. Reports trickled. The foreman, Big Ray, now bankrupt from opioids. The deacon who'd preached fire and brimstone, caught in a motel scandal. Karma's quiet work. Joshua filed it away, a dossier of schadenfreude, sharing snippets with Daniel over late-night ramen. Poetic. Ha! Daniel mused, chopsticks pausing. Or just the universe's middle finger. Their nights deepened, bodies sinking in rediscovered rhythms. Daniel's hands mapping scars like sacred text. You're my plot twist, he whispered, breath hot on Joshua's neck. Summer scorched in. Pride a riot of rainbows and bass-thumping floats down Fifth. They marched hand in hand. Daniel's sign reading, Love's the real revolution. Joshua's heart pounding freer than ever. Theo dragged them to after-parties. Drag brunches bleeding into warehouse raves, where Joshua danced loose, Daniel's hips grinding promise against his. Marry me for real? Daniel slurred at dawn, spinning him under disco lights. Joshua's yes was a gasp. lost in the crush. Engagement buzzed. Rings simple, black tungsten bands engraved with stars. Mama sent a quilt, hand-stitched apologies in every square. Ellie, a poem scrawled on construction paper. Brothers in arms. Forever. Daniel's book launched to acclaim. Tour extended to coasts. LA Books calling, he said. Packing. Come. Write your thesis on the beach. Joshua wavered, Pratt orientation loomed but booked the flight. One chapter at a time. California hit like a fever. Palm shadows dancing on stucco. Ocean roar drowning doubts. Daniel's loft overlooked Venice Boardwalk, skate punks and street performers the soundtrack. Joshua wrote feverishly, verses spilling like tide pools, odes to trash bags and reclaimed hearts. Evenings, they wandered Muscle Beach at sunset, toes in sand, Daniel sketching surfers while Joshua read aloud, voice carrying over waves. But paradise cracks. Daniel's agent threw a launch party. Industry sharks in linen suits, starlets with eyes like contracts. Joshua nursed a seltzer in the corner, feeling small amid the gloss. Then, the lanky artist, name, Riley sidled up, flute of champagne bubbling. Danny's told me all about you. The muse, her hand lingered on his arm, gaze appraising. Joshua smiled tight. Yeah. Flesh and blood. Later, buzzed on Rose, he confronted Daniel in the bathroom line. She's all over your feeds. What's the play? Daniel sighed, exasperated. Networking. Josh. It's the game. Words escalated, Joshua's insecurities flaring. Daniel's defensiveness a shield. You think I'm cheating? After everything. A door slammed. Joshua stormed to the balcony. City lights mocking below. Morning brought apologies, coffee and croissants. Daniel's arms pulling him back. Riley's history. You're mine now. Joshua nodded. But the seed rooted. Betrayal's echo. Harlan's legacy. Back east for fall semester. Distance stretched texts thin. Daniel's LA commitments piled, meetings, collabs while Joshua dove into workshops. His poems earning nods from profs like visceral, unflinching. Halloween hit Brooklyn feral. Cobwebbed bars. Drag kings prowling. Joshua went as a ghost, white sheet. Eyeholes hollow, channeling the boy with the trash bag. Theo through the bash. Center packed with Tylers of the world. Runaways in glitter. Toasting survival. Daniel surprised him. Jet-lagged grin under a vampire cape. Missed my North Star. They danced till sweat slick. Collapsing in an Uber home. But November chilled deeper. Mama relapsed. Whiskey hidden in teapots. Ellie calling in tears. She's scaring me. Bubba. Joshua flew south. Daniel tagging along for support. Mobile's chill was bone deep. Trailer drafty as regrets. Mama's detox was brutal. Nights of shakes and screams. Joshua holding her hand like she'd never held his. I'm poison, she wept. Like him, Daniel sketched quietly, turning pain into lines. A woman rising from ashes, phoenix stitched. Ellie bloomed amid the wreck. School plays. First crush on a girl with braids. Is it weird? Liking her? She asked. Shy. Joshua hugged fierce. Love's never weird. It's the best plot. Daniel nodded, adding, write your own ending. Back north. Gratitude swelled, but so did cracks. Daniel's book tour wrapped with a bang. NYC signing. Crowds 3 deep. Joshua manned the table, stacking copies, pride mingling with fatigue. Post-event dinner. Agents. Riley included, her laugh tinkling like shards. Over steak. She leaned in. Danny and I go way back. Creative sparks. You know, Joshua's fork stilled. Daniel's blush betrayed. The fight exploded in their cab ride home. Accusations flying like cabs in traffic. She's nothing, Daniel roared. But you see ghosts everywhere. Joshua's voice broke. Because they keep haunting. He bailed at a light. Stalking into the night. Snow flurrying like confetti from hell. Daniel's texts bombarded. Come home. Please. Joshua crashed at Theo's, nursing a hangover of hurt. Tyler showed up with pizza. Heard. Men suck. They talked till dawn. Betrayal's blueprints. Trusts rebuild. Days later, Daniel at the door. Eyes red-rimmed. A sketch in hand. Them on a bridge. Hands bridged over abyss. I fucked up. Riley was a lapse drunk. Stupid. But you're my constant. Forgiveness teetered. Joshua let him in. But boundaries etched. No more ghosts. Or we end it. Daniel agreed. Therapy cards exchanged. Queer couples counseling in Chelsea. Unpacking crates of baggage. Winter solstice brought fragile peace. Tree trimming in the studio. Bagheera batting ornaments. They exchanged vows early. Bands slipped on over cocoa. Promises whispered fierce. Through betrayals and bag throwings, Daniel quipped. Joshua's smile held. But revenge's hourglass ran low. The PI's final report landed. Harlan's old crew scattered. But Big Ray, the foreman who'd egged the disownment, now a small-time preacher in Gulf Shores, fleecing flocks with pray away the sin revivals. Joshua's jaw set. Time to collect. The drive to Gulf Shores was a ribbon of blacktop unspooling under magnolia shade. Gulf humidity pressing like a wet palm. Joshua gripped the rental's wheel. Daniel shotgun with a thermos of chicory coffee and a playlist of Springsteen anthems, born to run on repeat. Irony thick as the air. This revenge thing, Daniel ventured, thumb tracing the compass tat. It's not gonna fix the hole. You know, Joshua's nod was tight. Maybe not. But it'll close the book. Big Ray's sanctuary of salvation, squatted on a sun-bleached lot. Tent flaps billowing like surrender flags. Folding chairs filled with the desperate. Housewives in floral prints. Men in feed caps nursing Pabst. Joshua slipped in mid-sermon. Daniel hanging back in the shadows. Sketchpad camouflage. Ray loomed on the plywood stage. Sweat sheened and booming. The devil's in the details. Brothers, that unnatural urge? It's a chain. Break it with the Lord's hammer. Joshua's blood thrummed. Memories flashing. Ray's meaty hand clapping Harlan's shoulder that porch night. Chuckling good riddance to the queer. Now, here he stood. Peddling poison for pennies. Post-service mingle. Ray glad-handing. Joshua queuing with a fake sob story. Lost my way. Reverend. Need guidance. Ray's eyes lit greedy. Son, we've all wandered. Private counsel? My trailer's yonder. The trailer reeked of fried bologna and brimstone. Bibles stacked like accusations. Joshua perched on a sagging couch. Voice steady. It started young. A glance. A touch. My dad. He threw me out. Called me abomination. Ray leaned in. Pious nod. Classic temptation. But redemption's yours. Our retreats. $500 a pop. Exorcise that demon. Joshua's laugh barked low. Like you helped my dad? Harlan Jenkins. Threw his boy to the wolves at 14. Ray blanched, sausage fingers twitching. Harlan's kin? Lord. Small world. Joshua leaned forward. I steal. Not small enough. You preached it from your mill pulpit. Spare the rod. Spoil the fag. I heard. Ray sputtered, rising. Ancient history. We're all sinners. Joshua cut him. Voice whip crack. Your sticks. I've got tapes from your old buddies, confessing the hate you sowed. Opioid scandals. Motel romps. Want that on the 6 o'clock news. Daniel slipped in then. Phone recording subtle. Face a mask of calm. Ray deflated. Bluster popping. What you want? Boy. Joshua's smile was Harlan's ghost. Cold. Unyielding. Confession. Public. Apologize to every kid you damned. Shut this scam down. Or the dossier drops to your flock. The press. Your wife. Ray crumpled. Nodding frantic. Deal. Just mercy. They left him scripting a retraction sermon. Joshua's chest lighter but not empty. Drive back. Silence first. Then Daniel's hand on his knee. That was badass. But scary. Joshua exhaled. Had to. For the 14-year-old me. Daniel squeezed. He's proud. Back in Brooklyn. The high faded to ash. Pratt's winter-intensive ground Joshua down. Critiques like vivisections. His poems peeled bare. Trash bag testament earning gasps. Prof murmuring raw power. Daniel's follow-up book deal pressured. Deadlines looming. Riley's shadow in email chains. Creative consult? Joshua's trust wobbled. Therapy unpacking it weekly. Fears not fact, the counselor droned. Ellie's birthday loomed. 13. Braces off. Teen terror. Joshua flew south solo. Daniel buried in revisions. Mobile bloomed tentative. Mama's AA chip gleaming. Trailer patched with Joshua's savings. Party at the park. Cake smudged with blue icing. Ellie's friends a whirlwind of braces and Bieber. You're the cool brother, she beamed, gifting a leather journal. Write our story. Mama pulled him aside. Eyes clear. Proud of you, son. Harlan would have been eventually. He believed her. Almost. Back north. A blizzard buried the city. Flights grounded. Daniel's texts warmed. Snowed in with ramen dreams. Love you, but cabin fever bred ghosts. Joshua volunteered overtime at Ali Forney. Tyler's crew swelling, new kid. Jamie, 12 and fire-kissed from Florida. Ice haunted. Dad lit my books. The gay ones. Joshua's gut twisted, sharing his trash bag tale over Coco. Burned 'em? We'll write new. Spring equinox. Daniel's manuscript due. Joshua's portfolio humming. They escaped to the Catskills. Cabins with stone fireplaces. Woods whispering absolution. Days. Hikes through mudslick trails. Daniel sketching birches like veins. Nights. Tangled in flannel sheets. Bodies a liturgy of touch. Marry me proper, Daniel murmured. Ring glinting firelight. Joshua's yes sealed with a kiss. Plans sketched. City Hall. Then a queer beach bash in Provincetown. But betrayal's serpent slithered. Daniel's launch party. L.A. Redux. But Brooklyn bred. Warehouse in Bushwick. Fairy lights and falafel trucks. Riley arrived uninvited. Dress a slash of red. Clinging to Daniel like kudzu. Joshua watched from the bar. Gut churning as she whispered in his ear. Hand on elbow. Later. Powder room confrontation. Back off. He's mine. Riley smirked. Danny collects muses. You're just the latest. The bomb dropped post-party. Daniel, sloshed on craft IPAs, confessing in the cab. It happened again. Riley. Once. Weak moment. Joshua's world tilted. Ejection like that porch slam. Bag metaphorical this time. Heart the refuse. Out, he choked, shoving Daniel onto the sidewalk. We're done. Daniel's pleas echoed up the stairs. Josh, it was nothing, stress. Booze. Door locked. Joshua slid down, sobs racking. Theo arrived at dawn with bagels and bourbon. Dump the fucker. You deserve epic. Days blurred. Classes skipped. Shifts called out. Bagheera's per the only anchor. Tyler texted. Heard. You okay? Joshua's reply. Healing. Like you taught me. Revenge pivoted not to Daniel, but inward. He channeled the rip into poetry. Betrayer's blueprint. Verses flaying love's underbelly. Workshop prof hailing it breakthrough. Mama called. Sensing. Heart breaks the forge. Baby. Ellie mailed cookies. Note. Ice cream fixes all. Daniel's emails flooded. Apologies etched in prose. Sketches of shattered compasses. I self-sabotage. Therapy's helping. Give me a page. Joshua burned them digitally. But one lingered, a letter to Ellie. Enclosed, tell your brother I'm lost without him. Her reply, he misses you too, dummy. But earn it. Summer solstice scorched. Pride again. Joshua marching solo. Sign, love without lies. Theo's crew enveloped him. Dancing through glitter storms. Catharsis in every chant. Post-march brunch. Mimosas and manifestos. Tyler debuting a mural. Joshua's trash bag. Transformed to wings. Daniel resurfaced at the mural unveiling. Unannounced. Gaunt and earnest. Saw it online. Blew me away. Joshua's pulse thundered. Go. But Daniel stayed. Words tumbling. Riley's out. Books dedicated to you. I'm yours, if you'll have me. Silence stretched. Then Joshua's whisper. Prove it. Slow. Rebuild began glacial, coffee. No contact. Daniel's therapy updates shared. Riley blocked public. Joshua's thesis coalesced. A chapbook. Bag of stars. Blending memoir and myth. Launch reading. Packed house. Daniel front row. Ice shining. Post-reading toast. To second drafts. Fall foliage flamed. Wedding plans tentative. October. Small. Beachside. Mama and Ellie inbound. Theo officiating in sequence. But storm clouds gathered. Big Ray's confession video leaked. Anonymous drop to queer outlets. Ray blubbering apologies. Sanctuary shuddered. Backlash hit. Ray's wife divorcing. Flock fleeing. Joshua's PI confirmed. You're doing. He shrugged to Daniel. Karma's boomerang. Daniel's nod was proud. My avenger. But eyes shadowed. Don't let it consume you. Joshua pulled him close. It won't. We won't. October's salt wind whipped the dunes of Provincetown. Waves crashing like applause as Joshua stood barefoot in the sand. Black suit rumpled by the gale. The arch, driftwood lashed with kelp and fairy lights, framed the sea, horizon bleeding gold into gray. Mama fussed with his collar, eyes misty under her sun hat. Ellie, 14 and radiant in a sundress, clutched wildflowers like talismans. You look happy, Bubba, she whispered. hugging fierce. Theo, in a cape of rainbow chiffon, boomed, "Places, bitches, love awaits." Daniel emerged from the cabana, tuxedo sharp but tie askew, hair tousled by brine. His eyes locked on Joshua's, smoked quartz to storm, years distilled in a gaze. No Riley, no ghosts, just them, survivors etched in salt. Vows exchanged simple, Joshua's voice steady. "I throw my bag at your feet, not trash, but treasure. Build with me." Daniel's cracked. "You're my North Star, my plot, my revenge on loneliness. Forever." Rings slid on, tungsten warmed by palms, and the kiss sealed it. Salt lip and soul deep. Cheers erupting, Theo's whoop. Mama's sob. Ellie's confetti toss. Reception sprawled, beach firelit. Lobster boils and craft brews. Queer kin dancing fiddles to Gaga. Tyler arrived with his crew. Murals unrolled as gifts, Joshua and Daniel, entwined against cityscapes. To wings from waist, Tyler toasted, eyes bright. Nights blurred honeymoon haze, Cape Cod cottages, lobster traps and lighthouse treks, bodies rediscovering in featherbeds. Daniel's sketches filled a new journal, honeymoon nudes, tender as dawn. "Book two's ours," he murmured, pencil tracing Joshua's spine. Joshua's chapbook proofs arrived airmailed. Bag of stars. Cover a Polaroid of that fire escape laugh. Dedication. To Daniel, my revenge, my redemption. Back to Brooklyn's bite. Married life a rhythm rediscovered. Joshua's MFA thesis defended with fire. Prof panel weeping over betrayer's blueprint. Graduation caps tumbling confetti snow. Daniel's sequel deal ballooned. Co-author credit floated. With Joshua Jenkins, poet of the throne. They wrote in tandem. Mornings at the Promenade Cafe. Laptops syncing like heartbeats. Winter whispered warnings. Mama's scans clear. Cancer's shadow lifted from Ellie. 2. But Harlan's ghost lingered in holidays. Empty chair at Thanksgiving. But Grace said fuller. To absent fathers, Joshua toasted. And the ones we choose, Daniel clinked. Here, here. Tyler's rise rocketed. Gallery show in Chelsea. Joshua's forward in the catalog. Mentor's echo. The kid joked, but hugged tight. The center thrived. Joshua bored now, funneling book royalties to beds for the bagged-out boys. Spring betrayal scar itched faint. Riley's tell-all tweet storm fizzled, canceled for vindictive vapor. Daniel blocking her with a sigh. Chapter closed. Therapy continued. Couple sessions unpacking crates. Joshua's abandonment blueprints. Daniel's flight reflexes. We're edited, Daniel quipped post-session. But the story sings. Summer solstice. 5-year vow renewal? Nah, road trip instead. Greyhound echo to mobile. Mama's trailer spruced. AA meetings her anchor. Ellie, high school bound, debuted her graphic novel. Sisters take on their saga. Trash bag triumph. Launch at the old mill site. Now a community garden. Flowers where hate grew. Harlan's grave unvisited, but closure carved. Joshua scattered petals there anyway. Daniel's hand steady. He lost the best. Wind carried whispers. Forgiveness, not for Harlan, but for the boy he'd been. Trash bag lightened to feather. Fall fame flickered. Daniel's book tour with Joshua opening. Poetry slams to packed houses. LA stop. Riley's old haunt, but ghosts exorcised over vegan tacos. Past tense, Daniel affirmed. Kissing temple. Winter's cusp. News broke gentle. Ellie pregnant? No, adopted kitten, named Bagheera too. Mama's remarriage whisper, a gentle AA widower. Joshua's novel deal, memoir mash, revenge in rhyme, climax crested quiet. Anniversary eve, rooftop under stars, same as that first proposal jest. Daniel knelt, not with ring, but vow renewed, still my north. Joshua pulled him up, kiss fierce. And you're my horizon, no end, but life's plot twists unyielding. Spring storm, Daniel's diagnosis, testicular cancer, early but insistent. Joshua's world tilted again. Trash bag flashbacks in chemo waits. We'll fight, he growled, holding puke basin. Daniel grinned one, sketching from the bed. Cancer's the villain. We're the heroes. Months ground. Infusions. Hair lost to razors. Joshua's poems pouring pain. Anthology queer fires. Daniel's remission rang bells. Clean scans. Book 3 birthed in recovery haze. Summer healed. Beach rematch. P-Town dunes. Ellie. Catmom proud. Theo toasting to survivals. Tyler's wedding. To a barista beau. Joshua best man. Speech. Love's the ultimate revenge. Falls foliage. Brooklyn rooted deep. Joshua's tenure track offer. NYU adjunct. Poetry prof. Daniel's gallery retrospective. Muses and monsters. Centerpiece their Polaroid. Winter solstice. Tree lit. Bagheera purring. Mama visited. Quilt wrapped round them. Full circle, she murmured. Joshua nodded. Harlan's shadow faint. Years layered. Ellie's college send-off. Tears and toasts. Tyler's foundation for runaways. Joshua patron. Daniel's TED Talk. Art after exile. Climax's echo. Gulf Shores revisit. Big Ray's old lot now a pride center. Joshua's seed. Anonymous donation. Plaque. For the thrown out. Rise. Revenge realized, not destruction, but creation. Joshua's final poem. Read at their 10th. From bag to blaze. We burned bright. No more ghosts, only us. Ending humanistic. Laced bittersweet. Love's not flawless, but forged. In America's sprawl, from trailer trash to skyline kings, they claimed their stars. Hand in hand, forever drafted.